Hello, welcome to episode 4 of the Effective Faith podcast, a weekly podcast answering questions about productivity, tools, gear to help us get stuff done, as well as theology, Christian living, and how to approach getting things done in a way that supports our well-being and helps us to honour Jesus better. It's obvious that managing our time well can make us more effective. It's obvious that managing our energy well can make us more effective. But what about our environment? What about the place that we work? What about our surroundings as we do so? This too is absolutely critical, and it can make all the difference between an effective day and a distracted day. Optimizing our environment will have a huge impact on our focus and our distraction, and it will also have a huge impact on how quickly we can get into that flow state where we can be more effective in getting things done. In turn, this is going to improve the quality of our work significantly. Now, we're all different, and so the environment that suits us best is going to be different for each one of us. But I want you to imagine a scenario as we start. You settle yourself down to do some focused work. You're sitting on a chair that was designed by a man who had seemingly devoted his entire life to causing as much pain to as many people as possible. He wants to hurt you. Your desk, it's sticky in some way, and it's covered in the remnants of a sausage roll that was eaten by the last person that used it. The room, it's swelteringly hot. The sun streams in through the window, blinding you and making it impossible to see the screen of your computer. Co-workers in the next room seem to have downed tools for the minute, and they're laughing at whatever it was they watched on Netflix last night. The person you share your office with is a whistler, and he has the theme tunes to all of his toddler's favourite TV shows stuck in his head. Your computer, it keeps pinging a notification that someone's emailed you with yet another crisis. Your desk is covered in papers that relate to a project. It stalled yesterday, you can't work on it right now, but it's still bothering you. And someone has opened the window and a fly came in. This is an environment that I would find impossible to work in. In fact, I think many of us would find it impossible to work in it. And the impact on our mood will be catastrophic, the impact on our focus even worse, and then finally, our work will be a mess and we will be totally ineffective. So, we need to build an effective environment to work in. There are two ways to approach this. The first relates to the things that we have control over, and the second relates to the things that we don't have control over. Now, how much control we have over our environment is going to depend on our jobs, our work and our workplaces, and the rules that are there, etc. The first thing, consider your actual workstation. This includes your desk, your keyboard, your mouse, your monitor, your chair, etc. If we can afford it, and if we have the space to do so, we need a desk that is either large enough in itself or perhaps in its configuration with other furniture that ensures that our workspace is relatively clear when we're using it. You know, a mug of coffee or tea and some pens and a notebook should really be all that we have on our desk, in addition to the things that we're currently working on right there and then. Now, it's often said, clean desk, cluttered mind. This is nonsense in that it's not true, and it's only touted by messy people in order to make themselves feel better. And who wants a mind that's uncluttered by thought anyway? Secondly, even if it is true, it does not necessarily flow from it that having a clear desk is therefore inherently bad. A chair that is comfortable for you is an absolute must and well worth investing in. Now, in my experience, you don't actually need to spend a lot of money to get a chair that works for you. You just need to give it a bit of time and testing. Once, I worked for a company, and after a few hours in the chair that they gave me, I began to experience hot shooting sensations down my left leg. Swapping chairs, after a week or so of this discomfort, completely resolved the issue within a day. Keyboard, mouse, a decent monitor or laptop stand can also be really helpful here as well. If you want to see what I use, check out the tools and tech page on effectivefaith.org. You see, all of this is designed to make my workspace as effective as possible for actually getting stuff done. Next up, consider the environment around you. The key things here are heat, light, noise, and space. Ideally, you want a room that is not too hot or not too cold. My room is too cold. I don't know if you can see that, but it's 14 degrees, and that's only because I had a hot mug next to it. Depending on what you're working on, well lit is also a must. So for this, I would recommend a lamp with different light settings, and also a blind on your window for those sunny days if excess light could hinder your ability to see the screen well. When it comes to noise, we all know that quiet can be good, but also a background hubbub or some music or something can really help us concentrate and focus. What's hard is when there is noise that is very easy to focus on and be distracted by. You see, I find it easier to work in a cafe with 50 people talking around me than in a room with 2 people who are talking to each other. Space. For me personally, I prefer to work in more open spaces, and I don't like having my desk up against and facing a wall if I can avoid it. I like to have room in front of me. My desk here at home is by the window, so I get round that way. The last thing for you to consider is distraction. This is about getting ahead of them and thinking about what they might be. Largely, they come in the form of other people and notifications. So my advice, my preference, turn all notifications off. Now, I have some specific rules set up, so I do get notified about certain things from certain people, but my general principle, notifications off, and I just set up processes through the day for checking things like messages, emails, to ensure I remain on top of them. I don't need to know instantly if someone has emailed me. Then, consider other people. This is harder. Dilbert, in my favourite ever Dilbert cartoon, which was on a page of the day calendar I used to have, he created an anti-co-worker suit. Google this if that's of interest to you. But my advice here is be open with your colleagues. If you need some time to focus, simply ask them if they can allow you that unless they have something that's critically urgent. And then if you are interrupted, be gracious, be kind about it. The worst office space I ever worked in was tiny. It once upon a time had been a store cupboard that they converted into my office. It also contained the server for the organisation, which was very loud. It was originally, at one point, intended to be part of a much larger room, and then converted to a store cupboard. And so the radiator that was in the room was massive for the size of the room. And so as soon as it came on, the room became swelteringly hot. It had a massive old window that opened fully inwards, and all through the year in the afternoon, the sun would stream onto my screen, making it impossible to see. If the window was open, it was in front of my screen, and I had to look at the monitor through the glass. So, I had to have the blinds closed to keep the sun out, which meant in the summer I could not open the window at all, And in the afternoon, the room, due to its size, the amount of sun in it got hot and it became like a sauna. As I said, if I did open the window, I had to move the monitor from my preferred place so I didn't need to look through the glass in order to see my screen. And the desk couldn't be moved to a different position because, as I said, store cupboard, size, shape of the room meant that was not possible. So that brings me on to what can you do if you cannot control your environment, as I couldn't then? Well, there are 3 things that you can do, I think. The first, make whatever changes that you can and be creative about it. For example, you can buy a lamp to control the lighting a bit more, and you can buy and wear headphones playing music. There's even websites that you can go to that actually recreate the background noise of various different public locations. My favourite is the coffee shop. I've tried this, it's actually quite good. I even once sat in a coffee shop listening to the coffee shop background noise because there were people on the table next to me having a very loud conversation with a very distinctive laugh. Bigger things, like changing your desk or your chair and stuff like that, they might be harder to achieve. But even in big open plan offices, talking with your boss or your manager can yield results if these things are really problematic for you. The second thing you do, train yourself to adapt to your environment for the purposes of doing focused work. This is possible. There are things that you can do to help your mind with this. For example, I know one person that always listens to certain music when he wants to focus. And now, this has actually been the key thing that gets him in the zone. Or it could be something like nipping out to buy a particular drink that you use as a mental trigger that now is the time to get to work. Over time, it's possible to train yourself to these things so that they become a key part of getting you into that focused flow state. The last thing you can do, and I accept this may not be viable for everyone listening, is change your environment altogether. For example, in a previous job, with that dodgy, tiny, dingy, swelteringly hot office, sometimes, if I really needed to focus, my disastrous office just would not cut it. So I would move to a different and empty meeting room somewhere else in the building, and I would work there for the afternoon. It might be possible for you to try this. Talk to people in your organisation if it's a problem for you. And sometimes I would leave the building altogether. I would move to a coffee shop, move to a hotel in order to really focus on something. I didn't stay in the hotel, in the hotel cafe bar area, I mean. Also at this time I lived alone, and so working from home one afternoon a week was a viable option for me to really get focused, and I took advantage of that. Our environment really does matter. It makes all the difference. And if we use a combination of these tactics, we can adapt our environment to meet our needs and then adapt ourselves to our environment in order to ensure that our work environment is as effective for us as it could possibly be. If you found this valuable, please hit that like button down below, subscribe to the channel, there's lots more to come, and please do share this on social media for others who you think might find it helpful. If you have any questions that you'd like me to consider about productivity or time management, drop them in the comments below or email me effectivefaith15.58@gmail.com. Or you can use the contact form that's on effectivefaith.org, my website. This week I leave you with an out-of-context quote from Margaret Mead, who reminds us that we won't have a society if we do not take care of our environment. Thank you very much for listening.